The following program contains strong language and mature content. Viewer discretion is advised. Today on an all-new Dr. Phil.
I survived a kidnapping, and I believe I witnessed a murder.
Did he find a missing girl?
You say you saw her get shot in the head. You were handcuffed to her body.
He has vivid memories.
I was forced to dig a hole for her. They put me in the hole on top of her.
But her story
I see it riddled with inconsistencies.
has pieces missing.
How did you get away from these people?
I can't remember.
Let's do it. This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by, Dr. Phil.
I'll try to be an emotional compass and point you in the right direction.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you.
Go, Dr. Phil.
You know, I have to say, as parents, our greatest worry is always about our children, right? That someone would take them, hurt them, abuse them in some way. That's why the details in today's story would be a parent's worst nightmare. We're talking about abduction, sex trafficking, witnessing a murder, and then making an escape. Well, Lauren says that this horrific-sounding ordeal really happened to her. It was 10 years ago when she says she was kidnapped at gunpoint at her house and then immediately sold into sex trafficking. While held against her will, Lauren says she witnessed a murder, but somehow ultimately managed to escape after 8 days. So why didn't she go to police right away? Well, she claims that she just simply didn't remember anything about the abduction until 5 years later. Did it happen? Did it not happen? Well, that's what we're trying to get to the bottom of today. Even Lauren sometimes questions herself. Here's what she remembers about what she says happened 10 years ago on March 18th, 2004.
I survived a kidnapping, human trafficking, and I believe I witnessed a murder. I was coming home from work. I was walking up to my front door, and then instantly, people were behind me. It's like a pillowcase or some kind of sheet over my head, and I felt a gun. They took me from my front porch, dragged me down the sidewalk into their red truck. When we got into the truck, the woman looked at me and she said, "You know, you're never coming home again."
Well, Lauren says it got worse from there. She says she was taken to a house, sold for drugs, and put in a room with another kidnapped woman. And that's when the strange men started entering the room, one right after another.
I learned pretty quickly not to fight. There was no way I could have gotten out. There was always somebody watching. That night, I think about 30 to 40 men would come in and pay for what they needed, what they wanted. I was made to do whatever was asked, and it varied. If they wanted to be in the shower, I was in the shower. If they wanted to use torture, they wanted to record it, they had to pay more. They wanted more people involved, just whatever they wanted to do. They said horrible things to me throughout the entire time. I remember the words, but I don't remember feeling any emotion at all.
As though that was not enough, her ordeal was far from over. While Lauren may not remember every detail, she says she does remember the horrific murder of the first girl she met in the tiny back room of the house. She says she can't get the image out of her mind.
Within hours of getting to the house, I witnessed the murder of this woman in front of me. They dragged her in, and she was crying. Men were arguing back and forth, and then another man came in. He grabbed the gun and forced her to her knees. I remember the only thing I saw in her eyes, she knew. She knew exactly what was about to happen, and it was relief. He put the gun to her head and pulled the trigger. She died right there. I was put in a trunk, handcuffed to her body, and we were taken to a field. That's where I tried to run and caught me. I had to dig her grave. They dismembered her when she was put in the grave, and they assaulted me, all of them. I did doubt myself for a while. Everybody tells me it's so unbelievable. I can't find anybody else that survived it, and I don't know anybody else who's gone through it.
All right, Lauren is in disguise, and her name has been changed because she is afraid that someone from the sex trafficking ring is still out there and could find her. Now, she has requested that her therapist, Brian, join her, so he is here with her as well. So, Brian, I appreciate your being here as well. You have a good faith belief that you were abducted on March 18th of 04 at 7:38 p.m. And you say three people came up behind you as you were on the front porch going in the front door.
Yes, sir. They put something over my head, and then I felt a gun on my neck.
There was a woman, and she said, you know you're never coming back here again.
She said, you know you're never going to see your family again.
What did you think at that time? Did you realize you were being kidnapped, abducted? What did you think was happening? It happened
so fast. I mean, I don't remember thinking much. I feel like I just reacted. I just knew I couldn't fight.
And so you're in the back seat,
yes,
right? They have you pushed down, all right? And you said they went to a fast food restaurant nearby, right? Yes. You went through a fast food drive-through. You said it was like 2 miles from the house.
It was very close to the house.
Okay. And you were actually sexually assaulted in the back seat
yes,
of the truck, just straight off.
Immediately.
So you had to know whatever's happening here, this is not going to be good.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Then you're taken to a house and you actually see them sell you for drugs.
Yes.
And there were a lot of men inside this house. You say 9 to 10 men.
Just scattered throughout the house.
Yeah,
Yes.
you said mostly men, actually.
Mostly men.
You're put in a back room, and this is where you saw another woman that had clearly been abducted.
Yes.
At this point, you said they began to sell you. Men were coming, they started showing up and coming to the door, and you said between 8 or 9 o'clock that night till 3:30 or 4 the next morning, there were 40 to 50 men.
Yes.
That just kept coming one after the other after the other.
That's correct.
What did you say?
I tried to say something once, and I was immediately told to stop talking. I was told not to cry and not to talk. Mm-hmm. I was constantly watched by somebody with a gun.
And there was another girl in the room when you got there that had clearly been abducted. You said it looked as though she had been there a while.
Yes.
And did you two talk?
I don't remember actually conversing much with her. I remember her talking, kind of mumbling a lot.
Did she leave that house?
She did not leave it alive.
Tell me what happened.
We were in the room, and she got pushed in by one of the men, and they pushed her onto her knees, and they held the gun to her head, and they were arguing. And I remember the gun being passed back and forth. And then another man came up and he goes, I'll do it. And he put the gun to her head. And I remember her making eye contact with me. And I know I was the last person she saw. And the only thing I can see in her face was she knew it was over. And it was relief.
And they shot her. And what did you do?
He came over to me right afterwards, and he put the gun to my head, and he pulled the trigger. It didn't go off, and he started laughing. He goes, you're nothing but target practice to me now. And then he walked away, and the other men were in there.
Let's take a break. When we come back, Lauren says she doesn't remember how she got home after 8 days in captivity, but she did. And she noticed that something was wrong with her. All of that coming up. You saw a very young baby skinned alive and burned in a fireplace.
I still hear her crying. I just feel responsible for her death.
I don't remember coming home. I have kind of a fuzzy memory about it. And I think it was a truck driver. I remember him paying. Now, I don't remember if he did anything to me, but I remember him wrapping me in a blanket, putting me in his truck, giving me water. And after that, I have nothing. I have no idea how I survived.
Lauren says when she was 20 years old, she was abducted by 3 people outside her family's home on a dark night in March of 2004. She said she was traded for drugs, sold into sex trafficking, and witnessed a murder, all in the 8 days that they had her in their clutches. Now, Hannah is joining us and is Lauren's mom. What do you think's going on here?
I believe something has definitely happened. I've believed her from the day she told me something's happened. I'm confused about the timelines.
Some horrific things have happened here. One of the things that you reported is that while you were abducted, you saw a very young baby skinned alive and burned in a fireplace. Tell me about that recollection.
I haven't talked to Brian about that one yet. I just feel responsible for her death. I still hear her crying.
How did you get away from these people?
It bothers me because I can't remember. That's one of the things I don't remember.
What you do know is that a truck driver wrapped you in a blanket and brought you home.
I remember a truck driver. I remember him paying, and I remember him wrapping me in like a really thick blanket and carrying me and putting me in his truck. I don't know if he did anything to me, but I'm pretty sure he was the one that took me home.
And your puzzle about this, Mom, is that you left on Thursday and got back on Sunday.
Got back on Monday.
Got back on Monday.
Yes, sir.
So you were gone 4.5 days.
Correct.
And one of the things you said is that you were have a very specific recollection of talking to her on the home phone Sunday night.
That's right.
She's saying she was abducted for 8 days.
Right. And
you were gone for 4.5.
Right.
You wrote a letter to my dear friend Troy Dunn, who's known to a lot of people as the locator. And Troy's here today. Here's Troy. Hello, Troy. Because you wanted him to unite you with a woman whose daughter is Elsia Marie Rivera, right here. And you say the last thing she ever saw was you. And you saw her get shot in the head. And I'm going to ask Troy to talk about this in just a second. You were handcuffed to her body.
Yeah.
And that the two of you were put in the trunk of a Cadillac.
Okay.
A big car. You said you think it was a Cadillac. A big car, a big trunk. And you were driven where?
To a field. Very close by.
Close by?
Very close by.
And so you're in the trunk with this dead girl. And you said you talked to her in the trunk. And what did you say to her?
Excuse me. I remember telling her that if I ever found her mom, I would hug her for her.
Uh-huh. And you got to a field, and what happened?
I was forced to dig a hole for her. They dismembered her in the field. And then into the hole.
They dismembered her body?
Yes, sir.
And did what with the body parts?
Went into the hole.
Put them in the hole. Okay, and then what happened?
I tried to run away. I thought I could get away. They caught me and they pulled me back. They put me in the hole on top of her. And they assaulted me on top of her.
They put you in the hole and assaulted you on top of her dismembered body. Troy, you actually went to the site, right? You went to the field?
I did.
Well, let's take a break. When we come back, Lauren took Troy to the site where she says she buried the murdered woman. Did any new memories come back? Our cameras were there. We're going to take a look at that right after the break.
If you were going to do a horrific act like the one that she describes, this is the place you would do it. You do believe Alicia, as you call her, is buried right in this area.
Just hard to pinpoint exactly where, but I know it's around here.
Lauren would like to take me to the place where she believes the young lady she saw killed is buried. Well, you weren't kidding when you said it was out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's isolated.
If you were going to do a horrific act like the one that she describes, this is the place you would do it. You do believe Alicia, as you call her, is buried right in this area.
Just hard to pinpoint exactly where, but I know it's around here.
What does this place represent for you?
I think it was the night I realized what was happening. Just a lot happened that night in this field.
These details are really difficult, but I mean, that's really part of the purpose of this, is to try and build some of this back together. She was shot and then dismembered. Am I getting that right?
She was dismembered out here. I was sitting on the hill when it happened.
They brought her here. You dug the hole, and they placed her body into that.
That's when I tried to run. They dragged me back, pushed me in.
And sexually violated you.
Yeah.
Is it frustrating to you to know that there's somebody buried out here and that there's a family who's missing her and not have more support from the police?
It is very frustrating. And I honestly go back and forth. Is it better knowing or not knowing for her mother?
Is there still a part of you that debates whether or not this really happened?
This happened. This I know happened. I'm glad I'm able to come back out here like this. I'm not running from anybody. I don't have to fear anything.
So, Troy, she was very certain about that.
She was. She was very certain about it. She was, when we were in the location, she got very nervous and uptight and fidgety, and her breathing changed. And, none of these things are my expertise. As an outside observer, it was clear that she was uncomfortable in this location.
Why not dig up the site?
I asked this question, I've been working on this for weeks, and I've had the police reports sent to me. I've made calls to the therapist. My whole team is divided on whether they believe this happened, didn't happen, believe she believes it. It's been chaos inside our office.
Hell, I've got a shovel.
We talked about this. I said, I don't understand. If somebody said that there was a body buried here, you'd think there'd be 10 people, shoulder to shoulder with cadaver dogs going through the place. But that was 10 years ago. I don't know. That's a really good question.
Dr. Phil, that's part of her frustration, is that nobody would listen, nobody believed.
This young woman deserves to know the truth.
I agree.
You want to know the truth about what's going on, right? I'm trained in different ways. One of them is in forensic psychology, and I've gone back and done an objective analysis of what you've said and compared what you've said in a lot of different ways, and I want to take a look at that. You told one of our production staff that you were abducted at gunpoint by 3 people, 2 men and 1 woman. You told your good friend that you, in fact, were abducted by 3 men.
I don't remember.
You told Troy you were abducted at knife point in the driveway.
I remember talking to Troy about that, and that was just...
You told the producers that they put a pillowcase over your head and a gun to your head, and you told your mother you were taken into the home with the abductors, and you told me you were put into a red four-door pickup, but you had a pillowcase over your head. You say you were gone for 8 days, and your mother says she was only gone for 4.5, and she talked to you on the 3rd day on the home phone. According to you, by that time, you had been raped 100 times and witnessed 2 murders. But you're talking to her standing in a kitchen at the house. Those 2 things are absolutely incompatible.
Right.
I mean, the math doesn't work. I'm sorry, in terms of creating a timeline. Those inconsistencies are fundamentally irreconcilable. They just simply make it impossible for this to have happened to you, which, if that's the case, is hugely good news. I mean, that's like you just won the life lottery. If this didn't happen to you, if in fact you haven't been raped all of these times, if you haven't been sexually assaulted on top of a pile of body parts in a grave in a field, this is good news, not bad news. We often will construct things in our mind to keep from dealing with realities.
I learned the name of the girl who was murdered in front of me. I found the missing persons poster. I realized she had been taken from the same town I had been, so I got on that police department's missing persons website. And even before I saw her name, I knew that was her. I haven't learned much about her at all. I try not to look up information about her. It's very hard for me to do that.
You identified Elsha because you were looking on a missing persons website, and you saw this flyer and said, that's the girl. You were looking on another website and saw a picture of a serial killer and said, that's the person that shot her in the head. That's the guy. And then you said you saw that guy after you had escaped in a parking lot, and you recognized him and he recognized you.
I don't remember that.
Correct?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember?
I mean, honestly, I know I had a lot of flashbacks happening.
What I'm saying is, you're on a website and you see a flyer and you say, wow, that's the girl I was with. You're on a website, you see a flyer, you say, wow, that's the guy that killed the girl I was with. You take a detour around an accident, oh, there's a field, that's a field I went into. It seems like there's a pattern of suggestibility. You see people that fill in parts of this story. You told your mother, she pointed the house out to you from the driveway, right? So that's the house right there. I was held captive in that house.
When she first started getting flashbacks, that I had first heard about it, she said, yes, that was the house. And then, no, that wasn't the house.
If we look in the alternative, there are a lot of things that suggest that maybe this didn't happen to you.
Great.
That doesn't mean something didn't happen. It doesn't mean that there isn't trauma that has to be dealt with. But from a purely objective standpoint, I have to tell you that it's highly unlikely that that took place, and that is, if that's true.
It's scary. I mean, yes.
Is that not incredibly good news?
It's incredibly good news, but then I wonder what is wrong with me.
We often will construct things in our mind to keep from dealing.
They can't even match the music. They can't even rap, they're just black producing. Now they wanna crack the new shit. They just wanna act, they done bath the new kids. They can't even match the music. They can't even rap, they're just black producing. They just wanna crack the new shit. They just wanna act, they done bath the new kids. Sorry big man, with your big life and your kick man. Sorry big man, with your big life and your whip man.
With realities. And one of the things that we asked you in our pre-interview was, tell us about growing up. And what did you say?
I had a really good childhood. Loved it.
But then at another point, you talked about an incident that wasn't really wonderful.
That's where it all started. That's the first.
I don't feel like that bothers me at all, though.
I hope that's right. All right, when we come back, we're going to find out what happened when Lauren met with Jack Tremarco to take a polygraph exam. Plus, Lauren will meet Elsha's mom for the first time. We'll be right back.
I'm asking for Troy and Dr. Phil's help to find Alicia's mom.
I've always wanted to find some closure for her. I remember telling Alicia,
I'll hug your mom because my mom means everything to me. Memories kept building and building and got to the point it's like, I've got to do something. Only one person has ever been arrested for what happened to me. These are violent people. And I got away. I feel like I owe her something because I survived and she didn't. I think it's time to keep that promise to her.
In 2004, Lauren says she was taken from her home and sold into sex trafficking for 8 days. She says she witnessed a woman shot and killed, and she reached out to my friend Troy Dunn here because she wanted to be united with the woman's mother. Now, before we started the show, I went backstage and sat down with Elsha's mom, Elizabeth, to prepare her for what was about to happen.
My daughter, Elsha, has been missing for a decade, and not a day goes by that I don't miss her. Elsha was lively, happy, and a wonderful girl, and it's still hard for me to believe that she's gone. This is the last picture Elsha ever took. What I hope that will come out of this opportunity that Dr. Phil has given me is that someone will be able to see this and say, I remember that girl. I miss Elsha more than life itself.
Tell me what your understanding is about being here today.
I understand that I'm going to meet someone.
We're going to be talking to a young lady that we're referring to as Lauren. Mm-hmm. She is reporting that she's had some experiences that may have involved your daughter.
She apparently seen a picture of Elsha, and when she seen the picture, she said, I know her.
Right.
But I'd like to know what pictures she saw. What people don't realize is that the pictures that the police chose, those were pictures of Elsha when she was a teenager. This picture here was her when she went missing. Mm-hmm. They didn't want to use her current picture.
Well, Elizabeth, glad you're out here. Let me introduce you. This is Lauren. This is Elizabeth, Elsha's mom. This is Brian, who works with her from a therapeutic standpoint, and this is her mom.
Hi. As I was watching the taping, Lauren said that she would like to meet me, and if she ever met me, she'd like to hug me. I'd like to have that hug from Lauren.
Absolutely.
Whether what she said is true or not. It's okay. Are you okay?
Are you okay?
I'm okay. I just need the truth.
Mama's there.
You said to her, you're just after the truth here, and what did you say to her?
I promise I was there. If nothing else happened, I know that's happened. I just remember seeing her so vividly. Remember that.
It's really important to me for you to understand is that while my examination of the physical evidence, I absolutely do not see how what you believe to happen could possibly have happened under any circumstance. That doesn't mean that I think you are a liar or that I think you're in any way a bad person. I think you clearly are a victim of trauma in some way here, and you need help with that. I want you to have help with that. I'm so glad that you have Brian to help you and work with you on these things. So don't think that anybody here is mad at you or upset with you or whatever. What I think is that this absolutely did not happen. It just flat absolutely did not happen. And I think what you've done is you've constructed this to help you deal with something that did happen that you've not admitted to consciousness at this point that you're not ready to deal with. And I don't know what that is. I really don't know what that is. And I don't think you know what that is. What you're saying cannot have happened. I mean, do you agree with that?
I can see your point on it. I can see your...
Well, what do you think?
Well, one of the things I could say about Lauren is that, you know, one of the things about bringing back, especially dissociative amnesia, is, you know, the fact that you're dealing with, when you're talking about PTSD with dissociation, you're bringing back kind of it's a biphasic disorder. So, I mean, the intrusive thoughts that she has, the nightmares, the thoughts, I mean, these things are things that, you know, she presents as that she is suffering from something. There's no doubt that the keys to this mystery are in here, you know, for her.
Jack Tremarco is a former FBI special agent and polygraph examiner. He attempted to give Lauren a polygraph test. Jack, what took place? Jack Tremarco is a former FBI special agent and polygraph examiner. He's conducted over 3,500 tests in his career. He's also given a number of what are called confirmatory examinations with victims to ascertain whether or not what happened to them, in fact, did happen to them. And he attempted to give Lauren such a polygraph test yesterday. Jack, what took place?
One of the things that was apparent was that Lauren was nervous beyond normal. And at that point, it was agreed between she and I that there wasn't going to be a polygraph test.
And again, I want to emphasize, you haven't done anything wrong here, and nobody's suggesting you've done anything wrong here. You're on a quest for answers and information yourself, right? And you know that's what we, that's what we want to help you do, is get that information. And you wanted to meet Elizabeth, and you've had the opportunity to do that, and you've wanted to raise the flag about the reality of sex trafficking in America, and sadly, we know there is no debate about the reality of that tragic phenomenon in America. So we've done 2 out of 3 in that regard, and the third one is something that I really want you to continue to seek answers for, because I think you want to know. I think you want to know what happened to you, and I hope I'm right. I hope this didn't happen. to you. I know something has happened. I hope I'm right that this didn't happen, because that means when you get to what did, it's got to be something that is more manageable than what we're talking about here. One thing that I would like to offer the two of you as a resource, this is Miles Adcox down here. He's the owner and CEO of OnSite, which is a really great program that we've worked with a lot in Nashville, Tennessee. That's really a kind of a therapeutic retreat that does everything from equine therapy to other type things for people that want to call intensive timeouts from time to time. And they do these programs in a very customized way, and they always work directly with the existing therapist at the time to design programs if it's something that at anywhere along the line you guys think it might be a nice respite for her to do something. Then what would happen is Miles would get in touch with you, and you guys would talk and see if at the right time you thought it would be a good thing for her and she wanted to do it. Then Miles, you guys would talk, right? That's how you would work that?
International. Girl, what's your name? I have to know. Ain't no one else in your lane. Let's fill this car with gas and go. No hesitation, I'm on it. If that's the way that you want it, that's cool with me, so let's ride. Let's go somewhere that you like.
Absolutely. That's we've got some of the best trauma practitioners in the world that are on our team. And part of what I agree with what you're saying, Dr. Phil, part of your not being able to have a reality-based approach is you walking around with a lack of safety in the world, and the world feels like a threat to you. One of the advantages we have at Milestones and at OnSite is to pull you out of your environment and reestablish safety. It's one of the safest places on the planet for people to recover from trauma, and you deserve that. You deserve to go from surviving to thriving, and we can help you get there.
Yeah, and you and Brian should talk back there, and we just wanted to make it available to you as our gift to you, and we certainly wish you the best going forward. I want to turn our attention to Elizabeth's precious daughter here. If you have any information about Elsa Rivera, whose picture we have up, then please contact the Texas Department of Public Safety at mpch@dps.texas.gov. So take a look at this. We're going to have a link to this on our homepage today. And if you have any questions about human trafficking, then contact Homeland Security's website, dhs.gov/blue campaign. And again, we will have that on our website as well. I want to thank my friend Troy Dunn, whose book, Family, the Good F Word, is out right now. By the way, it's published by Bird Street Books and is one of our publishing companies and is available on Amazon.com. And if you want Troy's help in reuniting with someone, he and his team can be reached at troythelocator.com. We'll be right back. Don't Don't you love the holidays, all except the results of pigging out? I love it because I love giving stuff away. Like maybe something you may have wanted for years but never believed, really believed deep down that you could have. I wanted to give you something. I wanted to give you freedom from fat. Think about it. What if there was a way you could really, no kidding, no hype, no tricks, get in shape and lose weight one time? One time. Really, do it the right way and then be done with it. It's all about programming and management, not some miracle cure. Well, I got news for you. For the first time in 10 years, I have written a new weight loss book. It's called The 2020 Diet. Okay? Turn your weight loss vision into reality. 20 key foods to help you succeed where other diets have failed. I'm going to give you 20 foods for 20 days that can help kickstart your metabolism. And the best part about the 2020 diet is that it's easy to follow. Magic? No. Miracle? No. Sit on your ample ass and eat chocolates and lose weight? Nope and nope. But I've broken it into 3 phases and put the dots so close together there is no excuse for failure. Now, I waited 10 years because I have been compiling emerging research and some very promising theories that suggest that some foods may actually be thermogenic, meaning that they burn faster, that some are time-released, meaning that they last longer. Certain types of exercises done in certain ways may be a whole lot more efficient. You give me 2 or 3 months and some real effort, and you will not believe the results. One user of the 2020 diet went from this to this. And another went from this to this. So in the spirit of giving, every single one of you in the audience is going home with your own copy of the 2020 diet. And make no mistake, I want to see less of you next time. Now, for those of you at home, listen closely because you can only get this new book one place, thebooknook.com. You cannot get it in any store, only at thebooknook.com. Let's do this together. We're going to be working out of this book all season long. You can be in phase 1 by the end of the week. We'll see you next time. Thank you.